Welcome back to Radical Rescue. So yeah, we rescued Raph. Now let's see if we can find Donnie. And there you go. That's it. Again, like I said, Raph's ability is incredibly situational. By far the most situational of all of them. Because with Leo's Blockbuster, there's quite a lot of sections where you can use it. Whereas you're only required to use this ability like a total of like 4 times throughout the game, not counting repeats from, you know, going back and forth, obviously. So you should be fine. Normally, when it comes to normal play, usually I like to use Mikey because his hovering ability makes traversal easier.
Oh yeah, I don't think we've mentioned the alternate names this game had in different territories.
In Japan, it's TMNT free.
Yeah, I'll be a bit more specific. In Europe, it's called Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles 3 Radical Rescue.
Well, obviously. And
in Japan, it's called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 Turtles Kiki Ipatsu.
Interesting. What the text translates out to?
Fuck the turtles? I don't know. I'll go look it up.
Go ahead.
I got that was the case. That would be Japan would hate.
That would be funny because remember the original NES game in Japan is called Legend of the Extreme Ninja Turtles.
Turtles Kiki. I don't know. It's a video game that came out in
Japan. You can use Google Translate to get a rough translation.
Yeah, I'll try that.
Anyway. Alright, so...
Alright then, where to next?
Well, right now we have to get to the next boss that should give us the next key so we can rescue Donnie. Go ahead.
Turtles Crisis Shot.
So basically, Turtles in...
sounds like a cool name.
Okay, so this particular door only opens from one side. Yeah, this is the thing about these particular doors. They only open from one side, as indicated by that only message there. So you have to try to get on from another way. There you go. But no, that's exactly it. Go on. No, go on.
That's one thing I like about when. Okay, I know this technically isn't a Western-made game, but that's the one thing I like the most of when games from the West get localized to Japan. What name it can come up with, like how they call Fast and Furious Wild Speed over there, and so on.
Indeed. But no, but just to finish off another point from the next part. No, it boils down to that. Like I even showed Dwebs a slideshow of OG Dragon Ball, how it is in his DVDs versus how it's actually supposed to look with proper color correction, and there's a lot of green skies in most re-releases. Fortunately, right now, AB Group, a French company, well, they go by a different name now. What's the name again, Dubs? AB Group's current name? Well, whatever. Whatever. The point is, they're
Media One Thematics.
That's it, Media One Thematics. They're a French company, and they're the ones who finally decided, you know what? Maybe we should actually color correct this shit. And they're doing a good job with the upscaling as well. So looking pretty good. It's a shame that Funimation is not taking advantage of that and just using that to partnering with them or anything, because the French Blu-rays only have French and Japanese audios. So that's basically it. And yeah, there's a lot. I don't quite get what these enemies are. They're not foot soldiers. They're like robots, I think. Alright, let's use Leo's Blockbuster. There doesn't seem to be anything. Okay, sorry. Alright, back at it. Alright. So, Jova, what TMNT games from this era have you played back in the day?
Well, there's Shredder's Revenge.
Well, yeah, but that's not a Konami game though. Like I'm talking about the Konami era, if at all, of course.
I'm trying to think of if I have. I may not have, honestly.
Sure. I mean, you were born.
It's funny.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
it's funny. Like, well, when you said this era, I thought you meant like this current modern era, but you're talking about the
yeah,
Konami era.
yeah. I mean, it's okay. I mean, that's perfectly understandable. You were born after the time anyway. Because by 1995, Turtle Mania had basically died down.
Wait, Joe, were any of your parents or siblings into TMNT?
No, my little sister wasn't. If anything, I was the one who first got into it when I was.
Oh, you're the older sibling. I thought she was younger.
Nope. I'm the older one. I think my parents may have known about TMNT, but I don't recall my dad ever getting any TMNT games on his systems. I got more into TMNT around the time of the 2003 series. That was the first iteration of Turtles I ever saw.
That adds up.
I would later find out about the 80s series as well. Funnily enough, the first I was made aware of the movies was with the 2007 movie, which I had no idea was actually tied in with 3 other movies that came before it.
For some reason, yeah.
And yeah, no. To anyone who thinks otherwise, nope. It's very much confirmed that that one is canon to the previous 3 live-action movies.
Hell,
Glad they made that one CGI.
It doesn't even make any sense in basic concept because by 2007 those 3 movies at this point the train had the ship had sailed at that point. It was a bit too late to now suddenly try to do that. Anyway,
To be fair, from
try
what I
Seraton.
understand, of course, from what I understand, the first 2 movies were still pretty popular. People, I think even back then, people hated 3.
Sure. Well, 3 was always hated, so.
Yeah, but I can sort of get it. While Turtle Mania may not have been what it was back in that period, the movies, for the most part, held up well enough that I could get why they did it. I don't think it was the best idea to, but I get it. I mean, I guess that was also a guarantee that Shredder wasn't gonna be the main bad guy of that film.
Mm-hmm.
Since apparently as a free, he died in the past or something.
The problem is that the new villains they came up with are so bland and generic, and did the comics even try to maybe reincorporate those stupid villains from that movie into the comics? Maybe.
Which one?
Mr.
The 2007
the guy put up Patrick Stewart into the villain, but then of course he turns out to be a good guy. So the villains are basically these generic monsters with 0 personality. But did Tom ever try to implement them into the comics?
I don't think so.
Yeah, and I don't blame him because, to be honest, they're so uninteresting. So
reminds me of how we kind of got an 80s version of Kari thanks to Shredder's Revenge.
Karai, you mean?
Karai.
There you go.
God, it was such a weird time when they made her Leo's love interest.
We're going to see this when I'm going to show a bit of that, like when we do Dimensional Shell Shock, aka the DLC for Shredder's Revenge. But one thing that I have to really appreciate that Tribute Games did was create a what if Karai was in the 80s show by redesigning her in a 80s show type of thing, because in the 80s show Karai never was a thing. So it was quite the interesting thing to have a video game redesigner. Like, what if Karai was in that show? What would she would have looked like?
I now have to work at IDW and write that because they're doing adaptations of the 80s Turtles. I have to write. My new goal is write for it so I can implement Karai and take elements from her.
Oh wow, you really like. Oh wow, you really like Karai, don't you, Dej?
Yeah, but it'll be fun. But given her personality in this is very different compared to every other incarnation.
Yeah,
there's
I was gonna ask,
lot of
actually.
Huh?
Although what?
I was gonna ask, did they give like a profile for her in
No, but you
Unnamed
can
Shredder's Revenge?
tell by her dialogue and ending is like she does not like Shredder, and she believes that she's entitled to being the real leader of the Foot Clan.
So this is a version that actually is legitimately Shredder's daughter, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I'll admit is that for years I thought Karai was a 2003 series invention, but no, it was.
No, it takes
She
all the way
was
back to
from
the Mirage
Mirage.
comics, yeah.
But she was introduced in the 90s, so I can understand why. you
My
would
first
think that.
exposure to Karai is through another game from this collection that we're going to that we already did years ago, but we're going to redo because why not? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters, specifically the Genesis version, because Karai is a surprise final boss in that game. Whereas if I remember correctly, in the Super Nintendo version, they're clear about Karai being in the game, but even if you check the manual of the Genesis version, they don't even mention Karai at all. So Karai is intended as a surprise final boss in that game. Go on.
I like to believe that at this point it is franchise tradition to have Mirai play a game of musical chairs with, how she aligns essentially. Like, 2003 show, she's an anti-hero, then she's a villain, then she's heroic. 2012 show starts as a villain. Turns out she thought she was Shredder's daughter, but no, actually she's Splinter's daughter, stolen very, very, very long ago. I wouldn't be surprised if, we get like a redux of the 80s version that incorporates her, that they might even play jokes in it by having her switch, flip-flop every other season or whatnot. That's kind of what she did in the 2003 version anyway. So, yeah. That being said, is it weird that they shipped her with Leo in the 2012 version, seeing as how Leo is Splinter's adopted son and she's his actual daughter?
Yes.
Okay. The sad part is that okay, you know what? Like, I've already ranted on very much about how I don't understand writers' fascination with shipping the turtles with human women, but let's put that aside for now. Let's just think about this from a narrative perspective for now. Obviously, I've already talked about various times about how it's weird that they keep shipping the turtles with humans, but for now, let's just focus on narrative. There actually is a lot of narrative potential from that, because think about it. Shredder and let's go for Orokusaki for this. Orokusaki and Splinter are mortal enemies, right? Orokusaki killed Splinter's master. While Splinter doesn't necessarily want to see him murdered necessarily, obviously he doesn't get along with him, and he definitely has resentment towards Orokusaki for obvious reasons, right? Now, from a narrative standpoint, it does lead to interesting drama to have the number one pupils of both of those two to fall in love with each other, because that would create some interesting conflict. And from a conclusive standpoint, Leo and Karai's relationship can be the potential bridge that can finally maybe potentially, again, you talk about the Shredder being redeemed. That is actually the one way I can think of where it could work. Like if we try to, although personally I still think it would probably be one of those things where Orokusaki refused to bury the past, kind of like Zera, like something akin to Lion King 2, in fact, like where Splinter, being the better man, obviously he lets go of his hatred for Orokusaki, and for the sake of providing a better life for everybody involved, he lets go and moves on. But I can definitely see Orokusaki taking the same position Zera does in Lion King 2 and just refusing to accept that, and would rather die than make peace with Splinter or allow Karai to, be affiliated with the Turtles. So
that's more or less what happened.
It could be like this image I posted in the group in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god. The funny thing is, like, you kind of described how it goes in the 2012 show, Pedro. I will say this.
Not really.
No. Like, I mean, Shredder still wanted to kill Splinter is the point, regardless of the fact that Leo and Karai were a thing in that show.
Hold on, now we're gonna get Donnie. Job, you can be Donnie on that.
It's about time. Looks like Shredhead's up to his old tricks.
They're trying to replicate the dialogue of the 80s show.
Let's go find Master Splinter. It's weird because he's got the scowling look, so it kind of...
Jova. It's like they reused the exact same sprite. There you go, see? They reused the exact same sprite for all turtles and only altered the weapons. And there you go, that's what Donnie does. He climbs walls.
Wait. Oh my god, that animation! It looks like he's digging into the wall, like he's using Psy.
Hey, I know, right? That's what I said. That's what I said back in part 1. It makes much more sense for Raph to be the one that does this.
Okay. The thing is, back with the manual, the picture made it look more like he was digging his hands into it. And granted, maybe this is due to the limitations of the system, and it makes it look like he's sticking blades in. But then all the more reason, why didn't you give this move to Raph? Like, and you know what? I know it's a minor detail, honestly, but it's weird because these guys do know their Turtles lore, so it's weird more than anything.
Yeah.
Anyway, going back to 2012 series, for as much as I joke about the fact that every turtle got a love interest, I'll say for the most part they were handled well, except for Donnie and April. That stuff just
I think the romance in that show was absolutely terrible.
Well, okay. I think Leo and Karai was fine. Okay, I'll admit, shipping Mikey with Renet, that was a choice. But it wasn't actively horrible. I think the best handled one may have been Raph. In fact, if I recall correctly, his love interest wasn't even fully human, but she was like half mutant or something.
No, she was just a space alien.
Huh.
It was Mona Lisa.
But yeah, no, I think we can all agree. She only appears for 2 episodes,
so it's like, oh, okay, the one decent romance because she's barely in it. And the only reason why they shipped Mikey with Renette, it's only because she's voiced by Ashley Johnson and Mikey is voiced by Greg Sipes. So that's the joke.
Oh, what? They're married?
No. They're always a couple whenever they're in a cartoon together.
Oh, so it's like with Troy
Gwen
Baker
and Kevin and Beast Boy and Tara.
Yeah, it's like how Troy Baker and Laura Bailey were in the 2000s.
Bailey thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like, I mean, the Renet thing was weird, but I'm fine with it, ? Like, the only one I actively hated was Donnie and April for several reasons. Like, first off, why have we got to do this when April is legit a preteen in this version? Like, come on. Secondly,
it's because they want to make April and Casey the same age as the Turtles.
Which is weird, because half the time in the 2012 series, they act like the Turtles are kids, but other times they act like they're pretty dang adult. Like, it's weird. Again, the 2012 series in general is weird, but of course, like with Rise, it had that trajectory where people didn't like it because it wasn't the 2003 series, in addition to the fact that it did legit have bad issues. But of course, well, okay, no, actually, to be fair, by the time it ended, it was a mess when they were doing the whole spacing. I legit forgot that the series continued after they killed off Shredder.
The interesting thing... sorry. Go on. I thought you were done.
Honestly, I figured Shredder dying was the end point, seeing as how they had avenged Splinter, who Shredder killed at that point, but whatever. Go on, Pedro.
I actually, for me, it's one of those things where I find it really interesting, because back when the show first came out, the 2012 show, I mean, I remember being praised a lot, and to this day, I still see a lot of people talking about how it's, for example, I didn't actually watch it because I didn't want to spoil myself, but I even saw a relatively recent, it was like 2 years ago, a video about someone talking about how the 2012 show is one of the best cartoons of the 2010s. But in recent years, I've actually heard some people, including Deji, like he already hinted, that think that the show is not that great in hindsight.
I can kind of get why it was praised at the time. Like, the 2010s were not always the best in turning out quality from shows. TMNT was one of those shows that escaped that pit, not entirely, but enough that it did get praised. And okay, let me say this. I am not saying that 2012 never deserved praise, because it did. Like, it was a pretty good take on the mythos in a lot of areas. It did expand, and for some people it was the Transformers Prime of Turtles series. I kinda disagree now, but in hindsight I can get it. It was essentially the CGI-driven show that added new takes and mythos to the characters, while pretty much being the big bonanza collection of characters, like bringing in old and new characters all to the silver screen. Well, I gotta say, how funny is it that, you know, in something like Next Mutation, which was, I'd argue, a lot more adult-oriented, they had to go out of their way to have Leo say, "Oh no, it's okay for us to be together, Venus, because we're actually not siblings." And then meanwhile, in the 2012 series, it's like, you know, we're kind of technically adopted siblings when you think about it, but, what the heck, let's get shipped. Like, not even acknowledged there. Like, maybe that's their idea, that not even acknowledging it is safer for a kid's show. It's just, it's funny.
It's kind of like with well, okay, not kind of like, but like it's the main reason why in Lion King 2 they do the kind of like what Zack Snyder does in BVS, where they keep having the characters turn to the camera and say the port is abandoned, this place has been evacuated, just to make sure people don't get angry that Zack Snyder has the characters kill people, right?
Lion King 2 basically.
Lion King 2 as constant, like, because in the original version of the script, they were going to be cousins, Kiara and Kovu. I mean, but of course, fortunately, somebody
going to be Scar's
son. Yeah. So, but they realized that let's instead have him be his appointed successor. That's it. And they keep and there's constant lines in that movie that are clearly meant there just to make sure people don't get angry. Like for example, when Kovu's like, he wasn't my father, but he was still part of me. Like they keep making sure, they keep emphasizing to make sure he is not Scar's kid, okay?
You know, I don't know why, but I always find it extra funny when a piece of media, like, maybe it's not like legit just saying it, but you can pretty much sense the cue card saying, "Oh yeah, you see, I totally am not her sister. So this absolutely makes it okay." Or, "Hey, do you remember how this girl is actually just adopted?" Or, "Hey, do you remember how this person I think of as a brother is actually not my brother?" Oh, and dear lord, Final Fantasy VIII sing with Quistis. Well, you see, I thought I was in love with you, but in reality, that was actually just my sisterly feelings for you.
Now, if only some.
What the hell are you talking about?
No.
Final Fantasy VIII, basically, Quistis, who is a Squall's instructor, clearly has the hots for Squall. Then it turns out that they were all kind of raised like siblings in the same orphanage, and since they wanted Squall to actually get together with Renoa, they pretty much had Quistis said, "I thought I was in love with you, but that was just my sisterly feelings," which is awkward when you consider how she practically was giving him landing lights to the bed the whole time.
And let's just say that Final Fantasy VIII, let's just say it hasn't aged the best, and that's also for now. But the point is...
Oh, and by the way, she uses the whip, too.
Great.
It's mostly on her enemies, to be fair.
Sure. No, I get what you're saying, Joe, but like, I kind of wish the creator of Oshinoko got that memo. Oshinoko, it's an anime in right now it's one of the most popular animes going on right now.
Oh wait, is that the one about the idol mother with two kids reincarnated and all that?
Yes, Oshinoko. Right now the manga, a lot of people are going because basically, okay, do you know the premise of Oshinoko?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I know.
Basically, even though they were not siblings originally in their previous life. They reincarnated as siblings. Don't worry, Dwebs, it's a long story. Don't worry, Dwebs, it's a long story. Let me just go for it.
Don't tell me they're shipping them when they're in.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing, Jova. Remember, in the I don't know if you saw the prologue movie, the animated prologue movie, right? But when back when they were in their previous lives, she was a 12-year-old terminally ill child, whereas he was a doctor, and she had a crush on him. And he said, well, okay, how about this? How about this? If you ever get cured, that's fine. But if you watch it just on the original basic context up until that point, you can just write it off as just him saying it because she's about to die. He wants to at the very least have her die with a smile on her face and not reject her. So that could be fine. You could make that argument that he was just saying that to her so she wouldn't feel sad because she's terminally ill. That's fine.
Honestly, if anything, it seemed like he had a crush on the idol.
Yeah, he did. But not to spoil tips on anything in case he wants to, or in case they want to watch it. But something happens, blah blah blah. Let's just say, Jova, right now the manga, the sister. Now that she found out who her brother was in the past life, now she flat out hey, by the way, you told me that when I grew up to 16, you would marry me. Well, I'm 16 now. So
allow me, but officer, we actually had a crush on each other in previous lives. It's okay for me to date and wed my sister.
I'm leaving.
How old even were you?
Well, technically that was a past life, so it shouldn't count.
Really?
It's only
they all say.
It's again Japan being fucked up with its thing, like with its stuff. Because remember, you have to understand. Well, you have to understand, Webs. I know what you're gonna say, Webs, but one thing you also have to realize that Japan, as long as it's something fictional, they don't care. Like Japan is against sibling relationships. Don't get me wrong, but if it's something done in a story, they're not like. They don't immediately rouse their pitchforks to immediately, kill the writer or something. Like they just see it as a story.
This isn't even strictly a Japan criticism or anything. Why do storytellers still do that?
Because some think it adds drama or nuance to a tale.
Okay, either they've got a really warped and confused sense of drama, or something is really wrong with them.
Well, okay, how about this? Like, I will argue there's nothing wrong with including that in the story as long as the writer clearly portrays it as a bad thing that shouldn't happen. You know?
I'll agree. Like, there actually are some interesting tales about that kind of messed up stuff, which are interesting in a psychological character study. I'm guessing that's not the case with what Oshinaka is doing.
Well, Oshinaka...
that one anime where the older... What's the name of that one anime where the older brother is brushing his little sister's teeth?
I don't think I know that one. No,
I wouldn't know.
To be fair, brushing his sister's teeth, that doesn't necessarily imply anything.
If you watch that scene, you'll be like...
Well, okay, I don't know what you're talking about, so I'm just imagining just based on what you said.
Context is everything, Dej.
But, now, Oshinoko, well, keep in mind, I don't know much about, because I only saw the prologue movie, because I didn't go any further than that. But I did hear about, but when they started doing the thing with, it was kind of like that manga's equivalent of chapter 2018 from Rent a Girlfriend. Like, the whole internet was like, The primary goal of Oshinoko, from what I can tell, Jova, keep in mind, I have not exactly have much experience with the franchise, keep in mind, but I can tell you that one of the primary goals is to be a critique of the entertainment industry as a whole. Mm-hmm. Specifically,
Gatari.
Yeah, specifically how idols are treated in Japan, basically.
Right.
It sounds like quite a diversion from that, though. You go from commentary about how idols are treated in Japan to incest is wincest.
That's the thing, Dwebs. The way he goes about it, the offer, I mean, is very again, being Japan. Look, it's kind of like how Kojima commentates on a lot of real life politics by infusing a lot of superhero, supernatural shit in it. Like, this is just how Japanese people do things. They love their reincarnations, their supernatural powers. This is just how Japanese like to do things. They find it more exciting that way. Alright, everybody, tune in next time where hopefully we'll be able to find Master Splinter. See you then.
Yeah.
That's